Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another weekend workshop. My name is Carrie Ramsey, and I'm the project manager for the Weekend Project, which is led by Queen's University, and it's funded by FedDev Ontario through the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund. Today, we are in for just, I think, a power-packed 90 minutes. We'll be talking about pitching with power with Orlena Kane, who is, of course, the radio and television host. She has experience pitching a lot of different products. She's going to give us some demos. I'm just so excited to get into what she has to teach us today. So before we do that, we're always interested in learning who is on the call. So thank you so much. High five to yourselves for showing up, not just registering, for showing up. Let us know in the Zoom chat right now what your business is about, where you're connecting to this remotely, from which geographic region of the world. We would love to find out a little bit more about you. If my eyes are darting off to the side, it's just because I'm letting more folks in from the waiting room. We are expecting quite a few today. So do take a moment in the Zoom chat. Let us know where you're connecting from and a little bit, a link to your business or a link to your LinkedIn account if you'd like, so that we can connect with each other and follow even after this event. So while you're doing that, I'll take a moment to acknowledge I'm connecting to this workshop from the Bay of Quinte region, the beautiful, snowy Bay of Quinte region today. And this is the traditional First Nations territory of the Huron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And if you are watching this workshop from sometime in the future, thanks to our YouTube channel, then I will just make a note to say yesterday was Inauguration Day for the United States with President-elect Joe Biden. And I do want to take a moment to say that I was captivated, as were millions, by the poet laureate who delivered a speech. Did anyone see that? Just raise your hand, or you can make a note in the Zoom if you did. Amanda Gorman, who's a youth poet laureate. And I was listening again. I think I listened 2 or 3 times to her poem just this morning. And what struck me in particular, and poetry is so beautiful because we're all affected by it in different ways, right? But the line that stood out to me, I wrote down, and I wanted to mention it today. It's the following line. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. And that just stuck out to me as I was thinking about this notion of truth and reconciliation today. And I was thinking about, why do we do these land acknowledgements, and what is the significance, the importance? And I realized that we have to step into the past if we're going to repair it. And I think that it's all very personal, right? And so I ask myself every day, what can I do today? What can I, and I might not ask myself that out loud, but I think when we have the opportunity, we can look at, how do we step into that past and repair it? Whatever that might be for you. Today, I'm speaking it in terms of our Indigenous peoples. And I think that is kind of a significant part of truth and reconciliation. So I thought I'd share that with you. I hope you get a chance to view Amanda Gorman's speech, her poem. It was absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for those of you who are sharing in the chat where you're from today, and let us know a little bit about, a link to your business. If you're just joining us, welcome. I will note that today's session is being recorded. So if you would like a copy of the recording, which we will be putting onto our YouTube channel later today, then do email me. I'm going to put my email into the chat as well at some point during this discussion. But for now, I believe that we are ready to get into pitching with power. And so it is my honor and privilege to introduce you to Orlena Kane. I have on her screen right there, I see it says media host, but there's so much more depth and so many more dimensions to this woman. As you get to know her, I'm sure you're going to really enjoy what she has to teach. Let me just give you a little heads up. There is a bonus coaching program, which Weekend is offering in connection with today's workshop. So starting in February, there is a 6-week free coaching workshop, which we are opening up to, I think it's between 5 to 10 women entrepreneurs in the greater Kingston region. Stay tuned in the chat. A little bit later in the session today, I will be dropping the Google link in there that you can apply. If you are interested in going into more depth with Orlena, she is interested in helping take you and your business to the next level. All right, so without further ado, Orlena, you're set to go?
Hello. You can see me fine?
We can see you, we can hear you. The show is yours.
Wonderful. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be with you all today. I hope you're well and healthy. I think, as Carrie had said yesterday, was quite an incredible moment for women in history, not just in the United States, but a nod to women in Canada and the world over, to the depth of which you can succeed and you can accomplish in this world, no matter who you are, where you're from, or the color of your skin, or your culture or nationality. It's definitely a challenging time for us all here. And it's a testament that the world that we live in is incredibly small. We're all connected, and humanity is not only incredibly vulnerable, which we've seen over this past year with the pandemic, but we also have incredible strength when we bind together. And author Robert Schuller said in his 1983 book, which was titled "Tough Times Don't Last, Tough People Do." And that is a testament to what we're going through. And I think when you think about the severity in which we've been struck with the pandemic, how much we have been disconnected from the world, you'll see that in this seminar, there's a big ability for us to reconnect using the tools of social media and to still use the tools of our social circles, although the limitation is actually in physical contact. But it's 100% testament to, and I'm living proof of, that it doesn't matter where you come from. I'm going to share kind of the Cole's Notes version to where I'm from, where I've been, and what brought me to you here today, how you can grow, how you can meld, and know how to keep flowing and creating opportunities for yourself, and be aware of the ones around you. So you need to be able to push through these tough times, and you need to be able to maintain your ultimate goal. And these thoughts are also kind of what I've grown throughout my whole life. How did I make it to this place where I am currently a radio broadcaster with Mix 97 on the morning show? But my resume is extensive. I started out in the world as a model, promotional spokesmodel. I was a social worker at one point in time, and then I grew into a radio and television career. So I kind of ask myself this question often, kind of reflecting where I was and where I am today. At the beginning of my life was very chaotic. Just to share a bit of personal information with you without getting too in depth. I was born in 1971 to a teen mom, and that immediately, if you look at standards and statistics, kind of does set you up for a lot of difficulties growing up. And I was born to a teen mom. My father had 2 women pregnant in the same year. I always joke, I say it was the 70s, it was all about peace and love. But really the unpredictability of my life early on, it was forced to keep me in one way or another when things changed up so much, giving me the opportunity to create a stability within myself. It's kind of like a thrive and survive moment for me. So the things that challenged me early in life were 10 years of tumultuous and violent and very hostile home life growing up from the age of 4 to 14. Even though that was happening at home, at school, in public school, I was a competitive athlete. I came first in just about everything. I ran track in, a competitive volleyball and soccer star. I was almost a straight A student, except that my dislike for math didn't really give me that ability to get those straight A's all the time. I was kind of like got a C in math. It just, words were my thing, numbers weren't. And these hardships, though, pushed me to still thrive by being able to separate your hardships and what you're going through and putting your focus on the things that you want in life. And these are the challenges that you and I and everybody is going through right now. So this is a kind of no shock to me growing up. It is just the way in which the world is set up. And we have to have that ability to be able to tune in and focus. And I'm going to share that with you throughout the seminar, how I tuned in and focused at an early age, and how that tuning in carried with me throughout my entire life. Resiliency is a beautiful word. It is something that we've all been working hard to accomplish, because anybody who is still present and alive today, You are resilient. There is an incredible power and strength within you who you've been able to maintain your health and still be with us today to be a part of this seminar. So think of that strength in your everyday struggles when you are trying to grow your business. I want to share a particular moment, just taking you to my career on television at the shopping channel. And then I'll have Carrie show with you some slides. But one evening while I was working at the shopping channel where I was a host, I had Ivana Trump as my guest. And this just is so eloquently ties into everything that happened yesterday with the biddance of the ex President Donald Trump. I had Ivana Trump, and I was working with her to sell her jewelry line. And we sat in her private green room and we went over the lineup and pitched for her products. And I talked with her about her inspiration and some of her background. And as you can see, I've worked with extensive celebrities: Joan Rivers, Guillaume, Priscilla Presley, Elvis's widow, Suzanne Summers, Tony Little, Chef Wolfgang Puck, celebrity makeup artist Mally Roncal, and Canadian designer Brian Bailey, and so many more. And the breakdown, I think, of this life is that when you sit beside someone who is so affluent and so wealthy, and they're leaning on you, who does not have her wealth and does not have her level of success, you compare yourself and wonder, where am I and how closely are we connected? So Ivana, the breakdown: father, electrical engineer; my father, railroad conductor; her mother, telephone operator; my mother, factory worker. She lived in Canada as a ski instructor. I was born in Canada. She modeled and did promotional work. So did I. She met a rich man named Donald Trump and married him in 1967, and I did not. And therein lies the choice. So sitting next to her was a defining moment in my career, because success breeds success, and who you align yourself with can give you a shorter path to the top, as she aligned herself quite quickly with Donald Trump. But at what cost is that alignment? With a comparison to Ivana and myself, to achieve your goals in life, it matters less about how smart you are, and it matters more about how much talent you're born with, or what you develop, and where you come from, and how much you had to work with in the beginning. You know, you cannot get to your destination alone. Everybody needs someone, everyone. And you cannot, in this sense, steer from that as a reflection of the truth. Success has nothing to do with class or where you are. Plenty of immigrants would agree that this is true. And most of us are that. We're all immigrants. We're from this country. My Oma came from Germany, and just after the Second World War, came to Canada, cooked on a ship, and then cooked for the military to try to earn her spot to come into Canada and have her family here. And people need people, and lots of people have mentored me and guided me and given me advice over the years. Some I've took, and some I haven't. And like Ivana, it's not about your social class. It's about your access and your skills, your intellect and your talent. Of course, connection and connections. As you can see on the screen, connection and connections are so important. Genuine and authentic relationships, creating connections that are genuine and real. And like I said, when you help others, you help yourself. And it was, I have to share with you this quick story of working with Ivana Trump. After we had pitched her product and we went over everything in the green room, how she wanted to sell, she really did not, she had an inspiration, but for her, it was about the creation, and she was leaning on someone with a sales background to help her sell her products. And as we sat there, we were talking about her inspiration for this piece or that piece. And after the show wrapped, it was great. We walked back to the green room, and I was coming back through the hallway at a later time. And Ivana opened up the door and she said, "Orlena, you know, can you please help me? I've misplaced a ring." And her ring, I guess she'd set it back on the tablet where all the other kind of costume jewelry was, because it was costume jewelry that we were selling, replicas of what she had. And she said, "I'm so sorry, you know, this ring is about, you know, $30,000. It's not that expensive. You know, I just, if you could find it for me, it would be great." And I was thinking to myself, holy Toledo, $30,000 ring. I don't think I'd ever take it off my finger. I don't even know if I put it on my finger. And there she was. I quickly went back to the production area, looked for it there, went back to the caged area where we keep all the jewelry. Lo and behold, found her ring, and then I had a whole bunch of Ivana's jewelry at that time given to me by her. That was it was iconic. It was a moment where there again is I'm looking for something of this huge value to her, but we share so much in common. And really, there's not that much difference. And I think oftentimes we kind of get caught up in our own heads thinking, oh my God, like, what do I have to offer? Or, there's so much hinging on people buying from us. And there's a real disconnect when it comes, but we're just people, we're just people who are connected to people, and sharing contacts and helping you network and dig into what you already have with selling at the end of the day. It's just about people and who we are, and we all need something. And it's just a point of how to sell it to them. So today, we are going to learn about understanding the importance of your product and your service, whatever it may be. And I'm excited to find out what your products are and what your services are at the end. My experience is extensive. Working as a promotional spokesmodel for multi-million-dollar companies in Toronto from the age of 21, I was entrusted to regurgitate information that was given to me by a script maybe a week before, sometimes a couple of days before, sometimes only on the day of, and be able to go out to the public and pitch this information and raise awareness about people's product in a style of marketing once upon a time, and I'm sure Gary Ramsey also knows this term, called guerrilla marketing. And it's the style of marketing where it's just people connected to people. Instead of business to business, B2B, it's P2P, where you are just quickly accessing people. And once upon a time, I used to just stand in Hudson Bay in downtown Toronto with a basket of Lindor chocolate balls. And I would have to take one out, recite 2 or 3 points about the chocolate, and drop the chocolate in the person's hand. And the simple ideology was, if they got that chocolate in their mouth, that they would want to buy it. And there was a stack, I'm talking massive display beside me. And every day I went to work, I thought, how much farther can I get down in that display? How many chocolates will it take me to sell these? And it was exciting. It's just a simple tactic like that in sales, mind-blowing results. And it's a simple thing of giving a product away and getting it. So you're going to learn how to begin on designing a sales strategy to support what you're selling. We're going to get tips on pitching on air to TV and television audiences. I'm going to give you a glimpse behind. I've set up my portion of my dining room as a studio set today, and I'll be bringing in products later on to show you kind of how we do this. And we're going to gain insight on getting comfortable with selling. This session, obviously, we're going to have some Q&A. So let's get into it. I'm going to take a little sip of water because that's also key. And I will jot down on this paper any questions or things that maybe are too in-depth for the Q&A at the end of the hour that I might be able to answer. If you sign up for the coaching program, we can get a little bit more into depth there. So let's talk about understanding your product, okay? It's your why, it's your mission. It's really where you should be thinking if you haven't developed it that far. And oftentimes we get into a business because of our passion. We create a product because of that, and then we just want to quickly sell it. And it's a real detriment to you if you don't kind of go back. It's the one thing you need to know about your product and why it's prevalent to you and why you love it and why you think other people would love it too. But how can you translate that into dollars of a sale? Because that is the key. The product or service is something you're proud of, and that's great. How does that translate into a sale? Who wants it? Who wants your product? What are the demographic? What are the age groups? Is it an area? Are there certain places in the world that would buy it more quickly than in the area you're living in? You have to think kind of on the broad scope, and even just gaining social media awareness on a larger scale. And never minimize the maximum ability for your business to grow just because of where you are at the time. So knowing your potential customer is fundamental. When it comes to creating a sales strategy, it's much like directing a movie, okay? And this is the simplest analogy, and I'll read it to you. Kind of once you know your theme, you know what emotions and scenarios you're going to pull from. So then you put it all down on paper and you design a plan around these scenarios. It's like that staging. If I was in this position and I met this person, what would I say to them? And it's creating these everyday scenarios in your language that you use that's so important. And when you're where you're going to manufacture your product, that the cost of it, the design, selling, the benefit, and not necessarily the feature. So here's what you need to know in case you don't already know this already, and you've kind of like jumped right in and might need to take a couple of steps back, is you need to know your pricing structure. It's so fundamental when you're buying something or when you're selling something. How much does it cost others to buy if there's a similar product to yours out there on the market, and the styles, the colors, the models available, the history of your product, why you started it. The why is always what sells people. The emotional attachment to the why will supersede your products even. Sometimes I buy a product because of the why, someone's mission, someone's just great story of why they create a product. I might not even need it, but I'll buy it because I might know somebody else that needs it as well. So the history of your product, the manufacturing process, so critical, important, because you need to know what you can manufacture it for, what you can sell it for, how to use the product. Simple demonstration, knowing whatever it is, creating those scenarios either verbally or visually so that who you're selling it to has the opportunity to make the decision to buy from you. So showing and telling the customer, why is it important to them? This is the other part. You can jot this down. So when you show and tell your customer, it's why is it important to them? 3 strong points that you know off the top of your head. The more information you give to somebody about buying it, it almost takes away. And you know, when you've gotten on a sales call and somebody's trying to sell you something on the phone, and they start talking, and you might be interested in the beginning, and then when they feel a hesitancy from you or a stall in the sale, then they start compiling and piling on more reasons to buy. And that actually works to the detriment. When I worked at the shopping channel, working on television, and we had a product to sell, cue cards, quick points, it was 3 big points, and then the minimum points as to what that product was and how to sell it. So keeping it simple, informed, but not overwhelmed. You never want to overwhelm your customer with too much information, because the more you give them, they start thinking, oh, I can't, well, that doesn't apply. And oh, maybe 3 quick points, boom, 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 right there. And then customers will crave the additional knowledge on their own. Once you captivate them by those 3 strong points, they'll naturally start to ask questions or tap into if they are interested. There's no point in continuing on with the sale. You give 3 strong points, your best 3 selling features, and if they're not interested, it's better to kind of move on to the next person who is. Because you give your 3 strong points, your 3 best stuff, and they'll think about it. And if it does resonate with them, they'll come back to you at a later time. That's why on television, they always have that number to call, 1-888-2020. And if you are interested, you'll come back to that. And you want to put their best interest at heart, thinking from the customer's perspective. So talking about why product knowledge is imperative for sales, I'm going to give you the top 10 points that I've come up with that I feel are so important when it comes to building your sales kind of portfolio or sales strategy on what you need to have on your paper in order to sell to somebody. So product knowledge, what you know about your product, builds enthusiasm in the customer. So when you are able to speak from a place of knowledge in your head that comes fluently out of your mouth just so easily, that creates a comfort within the customer or the person buying that what you are saying is of sincerity and believability. And it's not a trick, because when you really believe in what you're saying and what you're talking about, it just naturally comes from you. So I'll talk about how you can do that, and some tricks on recording and some activities that I would love for you to do later today, or when you have time after the seminar. Product knowledge equals courage. So when you see somebody stand up on a podium, or you see somebody out talking about a product, if speaking doesn't naturally come to you so easily, you really need to practice and rehearse. It's repetition equals perfection. Repetition equals perfection. And in the beginning, it will feel unnatural to you, and you'll feel, I feel like it's not naturally coming for you. But if it doesn't naturally, as public speaking doesn't naturally come to you, then you have to breed a comfortability in it so it feels natural to the person you're speaking to. It might never feel natural to you, but the goal is that the person you're selling to, whoever you're talking to in day-to-day life, there's a believability and a sincerity coming from you. Product knowledge. You are the expert. I feel there's a real uneasiness sometimes with people when you're selling a product because you worry that they aren't going to believe you, or that there's something you might be missing, or that there's key points that you might not have, that you might have missed. Keep in mind, when it comes to your product or service, you're the expert. The customer doesn't know any different about your particular product. They might know something to compare it to, but you're essentially the expert when you are speaking. And that's the point that you need to connect with. Product knowledge allows us to speak well around others. The more that you know, the easier it is to talk about it. So again, I've got some great activities that I'm going to give to you. They're kind of not really tricks of the trade, but ways in which I have helped other people get comfortable with selling. So knowing your product and your competitors. It's never good to mention the competitors. It is good to know for yourself, because there's a way in which you can build your sales strategy around knowing what your competitors are doing and speaking the positive points about you. You never want to speak negatively about your competition. Putting down competition, it's just like speaking ill about other people. It only makes us look bad, and it makes us makes our product or our service look like it's really not of any value unless we have to put somebody else's down. Then the value gets placed on their product and service, not yours. So never want to mention the competition. You know they're there. People who do their research about the product or service, they're going to already know what the pricing is different, where and when is the best sale and the best service to get. Product knowledge gives you a chance to keep learning. So you kind of leverage these advantages. The more you know, the more you grow. It's cliche, but it's 100% too. And like I said, knowing your competition is so essential. All of this gives you self-assurance. All of this gives you a feeling of comfortability. All of this builds confidence in your brand. And when you have product knowledge, you have power. And these might be things that you already have thought about, things that you already kind of know about, but these are points that I want to bring up to you, because just in a Cole's Notes version in this hour, all of which I'm talking to you can be expanded upon on each page. Each segment I've talked about could be expanded upon for hours, because each of you have a different area that you're trying to sell in. So designing a sales strategy to support what you're selling. How do you do that? I'm gonna take a sip of water, Carrie.
Orlena, just can I slide in with a question that's relevant to what you just were talking about? Lisa has asked, what do you do if the potential customer says, oh, I usually get my product from so-and-so? So how do you handle that if they bring up the competition?
Oh, and that happens all the time, right? That's great. You can say, that's great. And maybe ask, and do you mind if I ask what you pay for that? Or you can say this question, that's great. What do you like about that company? I'd love to know, right? Because then you're actually giving that customer an opportunity to gloat about the best things, quickly giving you that information that you can rebuttal with, perhaps, right? And I know that oftentimes if I'm going to buy something, somebody is trying to sell me on something else. Again, those 3 quick top points. If it's a local product, mention quickly it's local. That goes over huge for people. Pricing, super important. If your pricing is different, and your why, right? Your why. Because emotionally, if you can get the customer to connect to you, always compliment the customer. You always want to say, that's great. You never say, oh, well, my thing is better. You always want to make sure the customer feels good about what they did already and giving them an opportunity to maybe do something better. So I hope that answers your question. And That's just a real quick answer. So cardinal rule when it comes to designing a sales strategy is make it about the buyer. In that case, somebody saying, yeah, that's great, but I get my thing at such and such a place. Making it about the buyer and not about yourself will create ease. And you want that comfortability with the sale. It's not about rushing. You kind of have to think like the person who is going to buy from you. And think to yourself, why would I buy this product? Well, I would buy it because I'm selling it. No, that's not good enough reason. You're going to say, I would buy it because, quickly say the three things. I would buy it because it's local, made by senior citizens over the age of 65, and a portion of the money goes to help local seniors programs. Oh, what? Oh, wait. Where I buy that product doesn't come with that emotional attachment to it. Maybe I should reconsider. Quickly building rapport with your customer is really important, and that is, again, self-confidence training, self-awareness, body language training, knowing how you look, knowing what your face does when you talk about things. Do you look right? Do you look left? Where is your comfort in what and how you are? It's essential. There's no way around it. And if you're like, I hate talking in front of people, you don't have to like it, but you can be good at it and you can get better at it. It doesn't have to be something that you really have to love, but you have to get into it, being able to do it. Business to business outreach. So you got to lean heavily on that research element, knowing other people, knowing your competition, knowing who can help you, knowing if you can get the best price on it somewhere else, using a social media management tool. This is so essential. I do a weekly layout on my social media content and schedule my posts according to algorithms. You can look it up for yourself. There are key times and days that people search on social media. There are key hashtags you have to know. How do you know your key hashtags? Look at your competitors' hashtags. What are they using? What's highly trafficked? If you have a product and you're coming into the market here and there's already a company doing it at this level, what are they using? I want to use what they're using. Imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery. Why not do that? Hashtags are meant there. Now, if you don't know anything about hashtags, you do not want to use hashtags that have a million people attached to it. You want to look at that 500K and down. So if you're using a hashtag that is used by too many people, it'll get lost in the algorithms and it won't be coming up. What's great is if you can create hashtags that are very specific to your brand, but also hashtags that are used connected to another brand. Sneaky, right? It's like building that comparison. A social media tool I use, it's very affordable if you're just using it for yourself. It's called Buffer. There are other tools out there, but what it allows you to do is post video, post photos, post content at those times, at those days, and you don't have to be glued to your phone or your tablet or your computer. You have something else that's doing it. And if you have a student that's working for you, or an intern, or maybe a family member that's doing work for you, they can do this for you, and you can have an intern kind of like set aside to do this stuff, and you would just give them content. So the importance of photographs, graphic artists using apps and tools that help create continuity across your brand. Think about your banners that you're using on your Facebook page, your Instagram page, your Twitter page, your LinkedIn page. If you're using Pinterest because you want to post your products there, social media is accessible to us, and we have to use it at its maximum capacity. But it is overwhelming, right? Because you think, I don't have time. I'm going to be sitting on my phone the whole time setting up stuff. That's what social media management tools are there. And if you need to pay a little bit of money towards one that's really comfortable for you to use, it's money definitely well spent. So has anybody heard about passive income? Passive income is a way in which something is making money for you and you don't have to do anything for it. In regards to energy and time into it, it just kind of just trickles in. If you were working from home on your business and you are also maybe dog sitting, right? That is a way of creating passive income because, you know, the dogs are there, you're making money, you have to take them out for a quick walk. Yeah. But there's a way in which your product can make money. So it's a great way to help you generate extra cash flow. And the economic upheaval, largely because of COVID, we have to look for ways in which the product or service that we have right now might be able to make us money without even having to do too much for it. So many people think that passive income is about getting something literally for nothing. And it's like a get rich quick appeal. But in the end, it does involve some work. You just have to kind of do the work up front, and then that product will start to spin. Practice, you may have to do all the work up front, but then with passive income often involves some additional labor later on, but then it kind of picks back up and makes money for you again. For myself, some ways in which in creating passive income might be with reading, right? A lot of times I write meditations down. And something that I have thought about creating passive income is by voicing those meditations that I'm writing for yoga, that I can read and maybe make a small charge for it by having a behind the scenes on my website where people can go, and for a small subscription, they would get a reading sent to them every day. So that's just a small thing. I can see it's like 22. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know we have till 11:30. So I just want to make sure I don't use up so much time with that. So if you're setting a sales goal, even if it's small, you have to set a sales goal. It has to be maybe a daily, every 2 days, twice a week, once a week, bi-weekly, once a month, something that will keep you on a timeline as a way to build your sales. So baby steps. So with a calculated monthly plan, you might want to make it weekly, or if you're struggling, like I said, you can make it daily, right? Just once a day, I'm going to sell this much, or I'm going to focus on selling this much. People with goals are 20 times more likely to actually achieve them and grow them into bigger ones. And sometimes it's just the smallest thing. Like if I just sell one product today, it's $5. And then maybe that person will tell someone about that product, and then it'll be $10, and then it'll be 15 and 20 by the end of the week. You might have $100 off that $5 sale. So never underestimate the power of one sale if that's something you don't know. Do the daily math. If you sell that product $5 a day, how much will that over a week? How's that going to translate into a month? So targeting small allows you to troubleshoot and see anything that you actually might have missed. All right, let's get into the good stuff. All right, I just want to cover a lot of those areas. The things that I spoke of already are what we're going to, and I just want to ask you, Carrie, if this is in shot, if you can let me know, if you can
So Orlena, I'll drop the slides now, and so we'll go to a full screen, which means that you'll all be able to see others. And so now if you would like to see Orlena better, you're going to want to click the view at the top of your Zoom screen and select speaker view. That, unless you want to see all of our fabulous faces. But if you'd like to see a little more closely what Orlena is doing, please do click speaker view, and that should highlight her on your screen.
I'm gonna, yes, once we get to that, I'm gonna start off with a simple thing.
We should be good to go, Orlena.
Oh, all right. So radio and television are two media forms that I've sold and been a part of. And both have massive buying power. If you have the right commercial ad on the radio, it can be huge for you. If you have an opportunity to be on television, whether it's a segment on an existing TV show, or if you are trying to pitch a product to the shopping channel. I've had tremendous experience. I was at the shopping channel for close to 5 years. And I've seen on one side of being the host and having experience working with a multitude of guests, and which is what you want to essentially possibly be one day on television. So it's essential that you get comfortable with yourself and the sound of your voice, and get comfortable with what you're saying. And whether you like the sound of your voice or not, it's not important. It matters how you are speaking and what you are saying, and with the continuity of it and the cadence of how you speak as well. Two big words that you have to start investigating into how often you say them, and ah. So and ah create a moment where the buyer doesn't believe you because they don't think that you know what you're talking about. So instead of and ah, a little lesson when you are speaking is to record yourself talking on video about your product and see how many times you and ah and jot them down. They're just two big words that are in the broadcasting world. They don't want you to say them. They want them to kind of leave. It's better to pause. So if I felt an coming on right now, I'd like to say to you that I'm happy to be here today. See, at that moment where I was about to I just paused for a second, because pausing creates, you know, when presidents and people speak on television and they pause, the whole crowd kind of tunes in even more and leans in on that pause. What are they going to say next? So keep in mind, you are the expert when you're selling. Key points to talk about with your product: opening statements, open and close. So we'll get into this here. When I got my job on the shopping channel, it's crazy, but I was asked to sell a pen. My boss at the time was Hugh Wilson, and he has a really great voice coaching program actually called Coach the Voice, and he coaches people's abilities to speak better and remove a lot of those things that might have difficulty. And we're talking about grassroots speaking. But when he asked me to sell this pen, if you could sell this pen yourself, what would you say? And you look at something as simple as a pen, and if you could sell that, you could sell anything. And when I looked at the pen, I thought about the ergonomics of the pen, the ease of being able to click open and click close. No more ink coming into your pocket, guys, when you place it in there. Ladies, you never have to worry about that ink ruining your handbag anymore. It clicks open and clicks close. And every time you hear that clicking noise, it's a feeling that you're about to write something important. And when you look, you can see that there's a logo on that says, "You make me smile." Well, that's interesting. You have an opportunity to give somebody a feeling of confidence by what you put on that pen. There's a soft foam tip at the base where your fingers go for long hours of writing and journaling and maybe creating a sales strategy. Your fingers aren't going to get pinchy or uncomfortable because there's just an ease and glide with that. The roller ball on the end has an easeability of glazing and grazing over that paper really simply. And in fact, these pens were made in Bangladesh. And the place in which they were made, the actual annual salary or weekly salary is very close in comparison to what they pay a Canadian employee at their factory. So that's just off the top of my head. I actually didn't script any of that. So quickly just thinking about stuff. If you can sell a pen and why, and the clip and how easy that is to go in there or can clip onto your book, that's what I had to sell. So let me talk to you about my favorite product is Sage Wellness. Sage Wellness is a Canadian company. So when you're on television and you have your products lined up here, you want to know what they look like from this side. You want to know from behind here what this is, what this is, what this is, what this is. Don't be doing a lot of this, right? So two different forms of health and wellness are on either side. So Sage Wellness, you want to know the story. Sage Wellness is an essential oils and a health and wellness company that's dedicated to making you feel better. It's a simple mission statement. They want you to feel better. I want to buy that product. I want to feel better. Everybody wants to feel better, right? Two lines that I purchased is the immune response. At the beginning of COVID, I tapped in and bought the immune response. The immune comes in an essential oil. Think about this. When you're opening up caps and you are showing the product, you always want to make sure that the customer, you see what the customer sees. My fingers aren't coming over the names and logos there. You want to gently smell. If it's a strong product, you can kind of fake it out here and go, Oh, it's so refreshing. You want to know what's in this product. It comes in this size. It also comes in a travel size with a metal cap so that nothing spills out in your luggage or your handbag, rolls out, comes out. There's 2 ways in which you can apply this product, with a roller ball over on the temples, on the wrists, and on the other side is a stopper where you can open it and dab it on your finger and put it on your pulse points. I'm just rolling with this just to kind of show you the ways in which they expect you to sell on television. It also comes in a spray. The immune spray is wonderful. When you are doing a product demonstration, make sure the product is already primed. Last thing you want to be doing is and find out last minute, oh damn, it doesn't work. Everything has to be set up. And I love this. I miss this on my every day. This is not a sales pitch for Stage, by the way, okay? This is just my clean air, looking for a way to continue the scent. See how this one product they've done at Sage Wellness has gone from a small diffuser to a roller ball to a spray to being able to clean the air. So one small product translated into 3 large products. You want to know your angles on television. When you're set up in the studio, you're going to have one main TV monitor in front of you, kind of like how you're looking at me now. There's going to be another camera to your right, another camera to your left. Now, the host on any TV show, whether you're doing a segment or whether you're actually selling on television, the host at that time would have been me, is going to guide you. You're going to see a red light come on, a red light come on. You'll know when to look. How do you get comfortable with that? Through the coaching program. There's so much I can teach you about that. This company, 25 years in the business, there's an emotional attachment. Healing plants, over 100 Sage products in Canada that you can purchase. The second line was the Tranquility line, where in addition to that, it comes in a body butter. When you're opening products on television and you take it out, you're going to place it on your hand, you're going to open it up, and most times you would already want to remove. I'm doing this for the real reason. See how you're like, oh my gosh, can't get this open. This is what I'm actually showing you happens. And then the guest is, or host is selling for time. It doesn't have to look and operate the way it actually would. So again, I'm going to retake that. So pick up the product, and you can say every product comes with a seal. It doesn't have to be visible. Soft buttercream with the same scent as in the roller ball, the diffuser oil, as well as the spray. You're rotating it, you're showing they would come down on a close shot. You would take your finger like this with a little bit and gently placing it on the back of your hand. It's all about that emotion. Softly smoothing it. Ooh, it's so silky, and I love the way that it feels against my skin. And oh, look, my skin is so hydrated. It's wonderful. And then the guest would take that, you close up the product, you set it off to the side. When you are on television, you'll have little cue cards like this. So this would be the immune in this, and they would zoom in. You don't have to say eucalyptus, warming cinnamon, soothing myrrh, and it supports the immune system. Supports, doesn't cure, help, it supports. Keywords when it comes to selling, which are product words you're using, because you don't want a legal lawsuit, right? You don't want to say it does something that it doesn't do, because people will call you on it every time. This on this side, this is Roman chamomile. All the essential oils are grown here in Canada. It also has ylang-ylang, lavender, orange, mango, delicious, and leaves you feeling with a sense of wellness. So these are all little cue cards on the TV. The mirror activity that I'd like to just leave you with here as well, I'll talk about a couple other quick things, is that being an on-air guest, you have to relax, okay? You have to find ways in which are gonna help you relax. When you're in the green room, a host will come in, or if you're on a TV show, the host will come in, sit down with you, go over any questions that you might have. So knowing your mic technique, If you've never had a mic pack on in your life, it goes in the back. It sometimes gets fed up your shirt and gets clipped on here. So in essence, a turtleneck probably wouldn't be the best thing to have a mic clipped onto, because it's really close and you'll hear a lot of scratching and moving around with the mic. You probably want to have it down here. You don't want to have too low cut of a top on, because that's also distracting. You want to have some prepped questions and answers to what you're selling. If a customer thought this question, here's the answer to that. You lead the direction of the answers. A host would help you sell, just like any kind of customer in the store. You have your employees. Sometimes you have two employees working together. It's like good cop, bad cop. The one employee in the store might not really be tuned in, and they might hear points where you're not quite making that sale. They chime in and say, oh yes, my mother loved that product, or my grandmother thought it was amazing and gave it to two of her friends. It's really a great product. And then you carry on with whatever you're doing. Sometimes it takes two people to sell, which is why there's a guest on television and a host. Always think about the station you're on, the genre, the demo, landmarks in the area. If you can mention key landmarks wherever you are. Now, if you're on a national television where there's 1.5 million people watching you across Canada, it'd be really hard to target all those areas. But you can draw a comparison to possible landmarks that might be in people's heads, depending on the product that you're selling. So a mirror activity, this is what I would love for you to do. A mirror activity, if you're selling a product, I would love for you to turn on your video cameras, or better yet, it's wonderful if you can have a mirror in front of you and you set up your products, or you set up what you're selling, or you just talk about the service that you're offering, and look at yourself when you're talking. What do you do with your hands? Are they moving around too much? Are you fluffing your hair? Is there tics that you're not really aware of? Are the things you're doing? How do I look? Ooh, my face. Ooh, do I look like that when I talk to people? I didn't realize I look so mean. Sometimes the sincereness or the passion that you're selling, you sometimes come across looking not that friendly. And it's just in your natural makeup. Some people say you just have a resting mean face and you don't really mean to have it, but your mouth kind of goes down a little bit. And so when you're talking, you need the small turn of your mouth, and it will feel uncomfortable at first. If you're used to talking like this, I love my product. It's great. Just a little upturn of your mouth, kind of like Mrs. Doubtfire. Feels stagey, but you'll get used to it feeling comfortable when you just lightly lift the corners of your mouth, because that creates a sense of friendliness. So mirror activity, get in front of it when you're talking. Get comfortable with your script of what your product or service is. Look at yourself when you're talking. Pretend like you're talking to your best friend. And when you're turning your head, gesturing your head, how you stand, are you fidgeting, where are your hands comfortable, how are things best presented, this way, this way, this way. It's really important to know this, and especially on television, your hand gestures. If you're a woman, you want to have that connection of it doesn't come natural to everybody, but a gentleness. You don't want to ever grab it. So this is a great product, and it's great. You just spray it around and it's good. Whoa, aggressive. I know. Gentle. It's going to feel natural for some people. Look at it. Spray. Smells good. Great scent. Gently place it back down. And this is what you want to do if you're selling stuff in your stores as well. Never be aggressive, and you love this product. It's like a baby to you, but not too baby, not like this, but like, you love it. It's what you've invested your life and your money in. Different ways of a sales breakdown, explaining beforehand. You're going to work with sales support before you even get on television. If you want to pitch your product to the shopping channel or pitch your product anywhere for TV, you have to do all of this work beforehand, knowing how to speak about your product, with a comfortability and ease and friendliness and sincerity, because that is what it's going to get you through the door. Now, there are days in which, not now during COVID, where they would have days where you could come in with your product line. It would be set up in advance, and it would kind of be like the Dragon's Den. You go in, set your product down. I'm so-and-so, I'm from Belleville. I'm here to talk to you about this today. It is a product that I'm very passionate about. And then you start your mission statement and your why and your sales strategy, how much money it can make for you, what it's going to do for the customer. And there are two ways in which products get sold: how many can be sold, or how much money. In the day, it was a deal done where you decided, I'm going to give you 1,000 of these products. And they'd say, great, we'll buy 1,000 of these and we're going to sell them at the price that we deem. And here's $1,000 or whatever it is, $10,000. And you think, wow, that's great. But maybe you could make $20,000 off of it. It depends on the buyout. So if you think, wow, I think actually I could sell more, and I'll take the deal where I'd rather you pay me out per item that I sell versus a lump sum in the front. So you have to kind of decide, is it easier? And this could be for selling it to a store if you've got a product, or selling on television. What deal do I want to do? Do I want to do, I just want to get the money, I just want to get the 10,000, there you go. And then they watch them on TV sell and they've made 20,000 off your product. Oh, why did I sell myself out like that? So you kind of have to know that in advance. They will teach you how to prep and pitch your product on air. They'll give you a Coles Notes version of it. You'll meet the production staff. You'll see behind the scenes. You'll see the set. You'll be involved in how you would like your set design. You'll want, this is a picture of Paris, but you would have your product banner from behind you. You would have slides pulled up with stats and statistics on how to sell. You would have maybe a vision board or photos on either side that the cameras can zoom in on while you adjust things. There is working with hosts, knowing your cameras and edits, day of shoot day. What is going to happen? What time do you need to be on set? How long are they? Is my voice dry? Do I need to have a lozenge? Make sure you have some water beside you so that your voice doesn't get dry or you choke up in that. A lot of this will be explained to you in the green room when the host comes to meet with the guests. But there's so much before the techniques, the best way to emulate them. There's an exercise that, like I said, I want to teach you. It's the mirroring exercise. And I mentioned it already by having a mirror in front. But the other way in which to mirror yourself is have your papers and hit record on your phone and read what it is, your why, your mission statement, why your product's so great, and just the 3 key points, strong points about them. Hear what your voice sounds like talking about your product. And when you listen back, you think, oh, that doesn't sound good. I need to say it a little bit different. Getting comfortable with your voice, recording it is a great way to do it. Oftentimes, if you don't like the sound of your voice, you speak less. But in this case, you need to speak, listen to how your voice sounds, where you could improve, and then the mirroring technique with the mirror in front of you, or video recording. Video record yourself and see how you look back selling your product or talking about your product. And then you'll see what the customer sees. And oftentimes it's just the way in which you're selling to somebody that is not conveying the truth or not conveying what you want to. Again, how you look, how you speak, body language, what your face looks like. These are the simplest sales techniques, but they go a long way when it comes to selling a product or service. So that's the Coles Notes version in an hour.
Orlena, can I break in with, so you can have a drink of water? I'll ask you a quick question.
I feel like I was on a marathon.
Someone has asked. I know, and it's so bizarre in Zoom too. I know. So kudos. It's amazing. Someone has asked.
Yes.
I know. Somebody's asked, does it make sense to create a persona when you're selling? I know, there's a lot of talk about and being your own. Sorry, I'm going to switch this to my personal hotspot. Authenticity. Should you create a persona or should you not?
Well, it worked for Paris Hilton, even though after she made millions upon millions, of probably $1 billion, she said after, I want this persona to die. But that's what sold millions. Of course, you want it to die now because you've got all the wealth in the world, but that's what brought you there. So yes, if you find it hard to attach yourself to something, you could create just an essence of who this person is attached to this, right? Or hiring somebody is the other step you could get to having someone sell your product for you. You say, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do all that. It's way too much. Hire somebody like myself who could sell the product for you with a strong believability and sincerity, and you don't have to worry about nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Someone is talking about confidence is key, but if you're not there yet and you want to really start the process, it's interesting. I think ideally, if you're selling your own business, probably that it resonates more with others because it is your story to sell. But you're right. If that is the barrier that's holding you back, maybe a short-term solution is hire a sales staff or a salesperson. Thanks. That was one question that came up.
Definitely, but it definitely is going to be helpful to build self-confidence in yourself along the way. Self-confidence training, I can offer you some of that and give you one-on-one coaching on how to better present yourself, how to better speak. I am kind of self-taught because when I was a young girl, at a very young age, I think I was around 8 years old with a tape recorder. I was singing in the church choir and I wanted to know how I sounded by myself because I didn't really have a chance to sing solo. I was singing in the group. I thought, I sound pretty good with everybody, but how do I sound by myself? So I press record and I would sing on the recorder and then I would listen back and at that time I thought, oh, I wonder what I sound like when I'm talking. Press record, listen, talk. I read about stuff, and I was amazed how much different I sounded on a video, on a tape recording versus how I sound in person.
There's another question. I'm not sure. Can you hear me? Am I cutting out?
I can hear you great, perfectly.
Okay, good. My internet's going in and out, but I've connected to my hotspot, so it should be okay. Here's a good question, and it came up before as well. Now that we're in this online environment, right? So we have to kind of learn how to switch this over to video. Is everything you're talking about applicable in a scenario like we have today, where you're selling online, or do you have any other tips? Is it different? Let's just say. I suppose with the TV it sounds the same, but what do you think?
Well, I always feel that it's a great idea to create a mini commercial of your product and have it properly produced. If it's a particular sell, and if it's a 1 minute video or 1.5 minute video commercial, sell commercial that you can send out to people attached to your sell sheet or your information, and people can quickly watch a quick commercial of whatever your product is, so much easier. Now there's Reels and there's TikTok. You don't have to use those forms in a silly fashion. You can use them as an opportunity to get your product out there with those hashtags. Remember, the hashtags are so important. That's how people find you. It's like an address for this product. This is hashtag Sage Wellness. So this would be hashtag whatever, and so on and so forth. For myself, I created a hashtag. Now when I search it, I find mostly myself, Canadian radio and television host. Or it's either Canadian radio and TV host or television. I think it's Canadian radio and TV host, because I thought that's great. That's what I do. Now when people search that hashtag, or if you wanted to even include that hashtag in your sell sheet, they would see the multitude of times that people hashtagged you, used your product, or the times in which you did. And it would almost be like a a storyboard on the internet, right? Yeah. I'm glad that I hope that I covered a lot for people in this hour. If you feel like asking a question, or if you have questions later on that you've decided you want to take the coaching program and there's more that you'd like to learn, I would love to help. As I said to Carrie, I have also had some great mentors and coaches along the way that I've learned from teachers at colleges to photographers that I worked with on modeling and commercial shoots, just everybody, anybody that I could learn something from, I just muckled right onto. I could see the reading. I'm learning at the bottom of the screen, trying to see if you scroll through if there's any questions.
Sorry about that. My cursor was everywhere and I was like, I can't get back to the screen. So let's open it up for Q&A at this point. Does anyone have a question they want to pop into the chat? Or there's quite a few of you, so I won't see you if you raise your hand, but you can unmute yourself. Sometimes that's easier to ask your question. Let's take some time for Q&A. Who would like to go first?
Oh, I see a question from Jenny Moore. That's amazing.
Very cool. And so if you haven't been following in the chat, just while you're thinking of your questions, I did put into the chat the link to the Pitching with Power coaching session. And I just want to briefly explain that it's not 6 solid weeks. It's not like you're signing up for a college course. It's 1 hour a week for 6 weeks, which is what we do with the weekend projects for our other coaching programs. And then there would be, that 1 hour a week would be in a group setting. And then there's also extra time with Orlena during that same 6 weeks for one-on-one coaching so that you can address your particular needs. And the beauty of the hybrid between the group coaching and the individual coaching is in the group setting, there's questions you didn't even think of asking, right? So that's why our clients really enjoy that. Now the program is open primarily to women entrepreneurs in the greater Kingston region. However, if we don't fill all the spots, and someone did ask this question in the chat, we do go further afield in Ontario. Unfortunately, we do have to keep Ontario women entrepreneurs as our main audience because we are government funded, and thankfully there are a lot of you. So here's a question, Orlena. If you're being interviewed and already know the questions in advance, how do you make it sound natural?
The more you rehearse it, it's incredible. Like when you're practicing a song on an instrument or you're singing a song, the more you practice it, the more natural it actually sounds. Because once you're able to think and speak at the same time, it just so eloquently comes out of your mouth. It really is about rehearsing, and practicing does create a natural factor. You can even pause before you speak. If you want it to feel like you're thinking about the answer, you could say, that's a great, well, I'll do it to you. That's a great question, Carrie. The way in which I feel about, see, it's just that one little pause creates a moment where the person thinks you have to think about it. And then it naturally comes from you. And then boom, that's a quick sale right there.
Yeah. And one of the things I've noticed on podcasts, when people had the questions in advance, sometimes they'll say, yes, when you sent me that question, I was thinking about it. I mean, don't say that. And sometimes I hear that, I'm like, you just told the entire audience you got the questions in advance. Like, I think you don't want to let on to the audience you got the questions because you want it to be a conversation. That's ultimately what you're looking for.
And most times the host will not actually read the question verbatim, which will also be good to you. There will be a bit of a looseness with the question, so it's not so. So tell me about your product. Thanks. I'm glad you have.
That's true. Rael has a question as well. Oh, let me go back up. What is the best way to sell a software service if you don't have, software/service if you don't have a physical product? So you've demonstrated how to sell something, but what about if it's a service? So it's an intangible in a way.
If it's intangible to the actual software, you could make it tangible with a visual demo of yourself talking about what this software is and how it can better your life. Because usually software is connected to, like for myself, there's yoga software that will allow me to schedule classes and create a payment plan. You could show pictures of what that software can do for a stage scenario business. If it's software, it has to do something. So showing pictures, what it could possibly do, or the ease, but you could actually be the person who's talking about the software, and that gives you an opportunity to be the visual, just like when Microsoft, that he was attached to that brand, Apple, all of it, Google, everybody, and Facebook, they talked about the product before the product even was available.
And I guess it goes back to like when we were in kindergarten and our teachers used object lessons. And the reason is because we remember, if you show us something, it's like you said earlier, show and tell. So telling is great, but showing is the key to sales in my mind. It's when you combine those two elements. So I hope that helps Rael and others that might be marketing services today, because that's great. So what does it look like when it's not manifested, but when it's practically used? And it might look like this, or, think about that.
And here's another thing. You could even have a staged testimonial from somebody. I say, I bought Angela's software and it did wonders for my business. It took things from I was only making 5% of sales. And with Angela's software, I now can see a 20% increase in my sale. Boom, back to Angela. That's right. And the software can be yours too for only $29.99.
Yeah, absolutely. So testimonials. Yeah, that's a great tip. I love that. Here's a question from Kathy. She leads groups on culinary tours, and she'd love to know how to tell a story about history to her audience. Any tips for making history come alive? I guess, Kathy, if I understand your question right.
That is amazing. Kathy, there are so many ways. My mind is blowing up right now, different ways. So if you're taking somebody on a culinary tour and you maybe have a little minivan of people, maybe it's like 7 or 8 people or whatnot, what quickly comes to my mind, have different objects. If maybe a little kerchief or something in the minivan that would show a bonnet if it was in pioneer times, or maybe a hat that somebody in that area would wear when they're picking grapes, or tangible things that would be on the seat where in those items, like it could be a stick of bread if you're talking about maybe somebody used to make bread in that area, because again, like you had said, there's something tangible. They're like, oh, that bread was made from somebody looking at that loaf. It was made in the ovens in Sicily in 1876. And just like the bread that's sitting beside you, that style of loaf is still made here today. Right in that building there, people see, oh, wow, that bread's made over there. Incredible, right?
That's cool. And she says she talks about, they're walking tours, but she talks about interesting characters. So obviously historical characters, but I suppose the same would apply. You could still use that technique.
You have a little bag on you, a little kind of bag, and you're taking a hat. And all of a sudden, it's a baseball cap because it's a certain type of person was there. You take that, or other people could wear, I know right now during COVID, you could give people sanitized hats. And just like Bob's wearing the such and such a hat and relate it back to the thing. That way you create the audience, your travelers become part of the story. And when they sit back in the bus, they're like, oh my God, I was just like, Jean-Pierre and such and such. And he used to be like this. And you can create those languages too and say, oh, he used to speak like this. And everybody give me their best French accent. People are like,
that's fun. I've seen.
Bonjour.
I want to be on your walking tour, Orlena. I think that'd be awesome. I've seen where at the beginning of tours, whether it's like a ghost tour or something, they give you a card and you are the character. And so it becomes like everyone in the walking tour becomes one of the historical characters. And you can say, oh, who has the card for Jean-Pierre, since you used it, and read what it is. And so it kind of that engagement of your audience with the tour itself.
Because then they have, like you said, then they have a card. It's tangible. They're holding it. They're tuned in. People are tuned into that person who has that card. And then they're engaged in what you're saying instead of you just kind of walking along. I know, I get it. People are looking up on me. Keeping them engaged. That's great.
All right. Here's a different one. So sorry, I keep going. I'm missing. Okay. You gotta love Zoom, people. Sorry, Tina, I saw your comment. I'm just trying to find it again, and I will find it. I will find it. Sorry about that. Tina, if you're on, she says she provides a service, helps people get relief from emotional intensity of stress and pressure, anxiety, fears, insomnia. She struggles with the wording in a positive way because she's dealing with negative emotions. Do you have any suggestions when trying to sell that to an audience? Good question.
So her services again?
She helps people get relief from emotional intensity caused by stress, pressure, anxiety, fears. And so these are kind of negative emotions, I suppose, or perhaps negative conditions. And how can she struggle with wording this in a positive way?
Okay, so you have the negative word, but when you remove that negative, when you remove stress, what do you get? Removing stress from your life gives you a greater sense of well-being, better communication with friends, closer connections to your children, a better feeling when you head to work in the morning than anxiety. The removal of that will give you blah, 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 and so on, right? So with the technique used to be called bun, burger, bun. The burger is the negative. Oh my God, it's so great to be here with you today. I spilled coffee on myself this morning, but I quickly changed my shirt and I'm here and I feel so good. So positive in this sense, yours would be you create an overall wellness in people by removing, you could use that word, removing this, and this, and then the bun, which then gives you this, all of this life. Move that, all of this stuff, right? And then talk about all the colorful ways in which your life will be so much better without that anxiety and stress and negativity.
So focus on the possibility and the potential. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Here's another question. Jessica is saying that she works with entrepreneurs to help them share their stories and access capital through crowdfunding.
Okay.
So in your experience, what are some key talking points that entrepreneurs should share when trying to tell a compelling story and sell their product? I don't know if this goes back up to the beginning of your rule of three, but key talking points.
Yeah, the cardinal rule is 3 strong points. Strong. And this might involve writing all the points down and then asking for a friend or colleague to go through the points, and they'll tell you what their 3, and do a little survey even. Out of all these points, what are your top 3 with regards to this product that you think are the reasons why you would buy this? Then that way you can get a survey amongst other people. I know SurveyMonkey is a great survey tool that you can use. Quick feedback from your demo. Maybe it's 25 to 54-year-old women, and then you can relay that back. In a recent survey from 25 to 54-year-old women in the Kingston area, were asked, what are their top 3 favorite things about our line? This is what they said.
Very cool. All right. I hope that answered your question, Jessica. And if you wanted to, I think it was Jessica, you wanted to put a follow-up question in there, you can. I'll move on to Denise's question. Can you speak more generally about marketing service? What is the biggest difference in your pitch approach from marketing a product? So that's the first part. What's the difference between general marketing versus pitching, it sounds like? And then how do you keep your sales pitch going when you're not running or open? So it's during COVID. Very good question. Our in-person baby toddler classes are now on pause due to COVID.
Okay, so they're called
I'll just speak. It's just easier.
Oh, go ahead.
If that's
sure,
all right.
Yes.
So we run baby and toddler classes, but of course we're not running right now due to COVID. So that's that part. And then the first part, I was more so asking about what's the biggest difference about pitching a service rather than a product? So what's the one thing that you'd say, oh, you know, if you're selling a service, this is the most important thing to get across or do.
And thank you so much. Oh, she's a little baby. This is what you have to remember, is that a service is a product. It's the non-tangible products. So you need to use photos, video, those things to make it tangible. So I would again create a little video and a little, baby and toddlers crawling around or doing with this is the baby in the natural habitat at your whatever you want to do, and show ways in which the baby or toddlers are enhanced by being a part of your program, right? So marketing a service is using imagery and videos and creating those and testimonies. You can have people testify who have used your product in the past and said, my toddler's thriving. Little Johnny wasn't with the toddler program and she knows how to spell orange and he doesn't. No, I'm not saying it's quite like that, but like the enhancement of taking your program and creating a little mini commercial or photographs and posting them on social media. They're staged, but and I know that there's some liability when it comes to babies being in photographs and toddlers, but it could be your own, or you get a waiver or whatever, and maybe it's just their hand in the shot or a portion of them, but everything is with respect to the dignity of the child and the confidentiality and safety of the child. But you can turn your service, and that's just like how everybody does. You turn your service into a product with visuals, photos, and commercial, like little mock commercials.
Does that help,
That's
Denise?
great. Thank you. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
And I think that testimonials, I think that's really key. It's great for products, tangible products, but I think that the idea of using it for services, it puts a face to your service. It puts a face to your business as well.
Your face should be on it, right? Hi, yeah. I'm so-and-so. And during COVID, this tough times, but when we reopen, this is what we have to offer. Gets people thinking about it now.
And the other idea that I've heard a lot of business owners talking about that are shut down, and you don't want to, for instance, in social media, go completely disappear, for instance, because then the algorithm, isn't showing people your posts when you come back. So how do you feel that content when you're not open? And the idea is you can still add value. So asking a question, we're closed. How do I keep adding value to my customers' lives without actually providing my traditional service? That might be sharing a family space activity, or there's a million crafts and ways to keep your toddler, like here's a great article I read, here's a great podcast I just listened to, I'm a mom at home stuck here, it's depressing, maybe this will lift your spirit. So again, adding value, even if you yourself are closed as a business, I think people remember that.
And also to add to that, Carrie, what most hair salons are doing now with their in-home root treatment applications, and you pick them up at the door, and you could do the same thing. Like here's a type of class that we would teach. You can pick up the tools at my door with or at the front, social distancing, with a 10% off coupon for when we do open up. You can come back with us. So there's those things as well, just kind of looking in between the gaps.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen so many stores and traditional businesses doing that. How can we continue to add value? And I this word pivot, we hate it, but it's like, how can what's the angle? What's a different angle that I can use right now? And the whole core purpose is to keep in connection with my customers, because someone's probably keeping them entertained and soothed and adding value. So let that be me. Let that be my goal. Yeah. And
stay positive, like share positivity. The negativity is obvious, but try to share the positive aspects of when this is over, this is what will happen. Sharing previous memories, perhaps. Remember when babies could all crawl around together.
Very good point. All right, I'm keeping my eye on the time, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. Is there a last question, perhaps in the Zoom chat, that Orlena can address? And if not, I will drop in the link one more time to that coaching program, which is that application's opening today. And so if you're interested, if you need some more details, I'm going to put my email in as well right now, and you can reach out to me. Any final questions before we wrap up for today? Just keeping an eye here. A reminder that a recording of today's session is also available. If you came in late and you missed the beginning, definitely reach out to me. My email is right there. If you'd like a copy of the recording, which will be posted on our YouTube channel later today, I will get that to you and you can just review it at your leisure and be inspired as needed. So I don't see any more questions coming in. Go ahead, Orlena.
Just to add real quick, for any of those considering the coaching program, I would sit down with you specifically. Obviously, in the group, we're going to answer a lot of questions at once, and kind of it's almost like a brainstorming session that hour. But on the coaching, the one-on-one, your 2 30-minute sessions will be really focusing on what you have and specifically what to do. And that means me actually maybe scripting and helping you write a script, creating a commercial for you, creating web content, helping you maybe modify and tweak things on your social media, and being able to connect you to people who can actually do some of that rebranding with you, or creating your brand name and logo and such. So there's so much to offer by that way. And obviously self-confidence, speaking, what maybe you need to work on, how I can help you grow.
Absolutely. Lots of opportunity here. And I think that sometimes we've been looking at this January, which has been quiet, but it's been an opportunity for some women entrepreneurs in our region to take advantage of some of these coaching programs, whereas otherwise they would have been too busy. So we always have to look for the silver lining. This coaching program we're announcing today is the 4th coaching program we've announced this month. So if you've applied to some of the other 3, then by all means, stay tuned. And I've been trying to be in touch with anyone who's applied to those as well. Thank you so much for attending today, everyone. Thank you to Orlena. You're a goddess. You are fantastic. Thank you for your energy, your warmth, your generosity. It has been a pleasure. Enjoy your day, everyone, and take care of yourselves.
Thank you.